Level 1. The Nobody. You are 21 years old. Your father is a postal worker. Your mother manages the front counter at a dry cleaner that is not doing well. You grew up in a house where the heat got turned down at 9, and back up about money never happened at the dinner table, not because there was nothing to say, but because saying it out loud made it worse. You have a finance degree from a state school that no Wall Street firm has ever sent a recruiter to. You graduated with a 3.4 GPA and exactly zero connections to anyone who works in a building with marble floors. You sent out 19 applications. You got back 2 emails. One was a rejection, so politely worded it almost felt like encouragement. The other one said, "Thanks for your interest," and was signed by a system, not a person, a system. You are living at home now, your childhood bedroom, the same blue curtains, the same crack in the ceiling above the bed that you used to stare at in high school, thinking about getting out. You are still staring at it. You are working at a call center that sells home security systems to people who mostly don't want home security systems. You make $14 an hour. After tax, after the bus fare, after the $9 sandwich you eat at the desk because there's nowhere else to go on a 30-minute lunch, you take home less than nothing feels like. You have a laptop on a folding table in the corner. Every night you come home and you read. Not textbooks, not news. You read about Wall Street, the firms, the floors, the way money moves through markets like blood through a body. You read about men who started exactly where you are and ended somewhere you cannot yet picture from here. You find a job listing at 11:45 on a Tuesday night. Broker trainee position, Midtown Manhattan. No experience required, aggressive earners only. That last line is the one that stays with you, aggressive earners only. You read it 3 times. Then you open the application. You type until 1 in the morning. You submit it. You lie back on the bed with the blue curtains and look at the crack in the ceiling. Something has already started moving inside you. You can feel it. You just don't know what it is yet. Level 2. The Dial. 6 weeks later, you are on the floor. It is louder than you expected. Not music loud, machine loud. 40 people talking into headsets at the same time in a room that smells like burnt coffee and recycled air. The carpet is charcoal gray. The ceiling tiles are yellow from age. The windows look out onto a building close enough to touch. Nobody looked up when you walked in. Not one person. Your manager's name is Terry. He's 31 and has the look of someone who has made money and spent money, and made it and spent it again so many times that the cycle no longer registers on his face. He gives you a headset. He gives you a printed list of 200 names. He gives you a 2-page script. He says, memorize it by Friday. Then he goes back to his office. You sit down. You pick up the phone. You dial the first number. It rings 4 times. Voicemail. You dial the second number. The man who answers says hello and then says no thank you before you have finished your first sentence. Third call. A woman listens for 12 seconds. Then she tells you something explicit about where you can put your script. Fourth call. No answer. Fifth call. No answer. Sixth call. A retired man in Ohio named Gerald listens to your entire pitch. All of it. Every sentence, every pause you rehearsed. He says, let me think about it. He says, call me back Thursday. You hang up. Your hand is shaking, not from fear, from something closer to electricity. You dial the 7th number. Level 3, the read. Month 2. You passed your Series 7 on the first attempt. You studied for it on your phone on the subway because the subway was the only time nobody needed anything from you. The script is gone now. Not because Terry took it away, because you don't need it anymore. Something changed around week 5. You stopped hearing your own words and started hearing the silence on the other end. Every silence is different. The silence of someone who is interested but won't say it. The silence of someone who is scared. The silence of someone who is already reaching for the hang-up and hasn't pressed it yet. The silence of someone who is alone and has not talked to anyone today, and will stay on the phone longer than they meant to just because another human voice is on the other end. You learn to read each one. You learn that this is not selling, this is listening. Selling is just what happens after you understand what the person on the other end is afraid of. Find the fear, speak to the fear, become the solution to the fear. You don't learn this from a training manual. You learn it from 400 conversations in a room that smells like burnt coffee while your ear gets sore from the headset and your lunch gets cold on the desk. Terry notices the change in your numbers. He moves you to a smaller room in the back. 4 desks, 4 people, the top performers from the last quarter. You are the youngest person in that room by 4 years. You sit down, you put on the headset, you dial. Level 4, the first close. Month 3. His name is Ray. Ray is 67 years old. He drove a school bus in Pittsburgh for 38 years. He retired 2 years ago with $180,000 saved across 4 decades of brown bag lunches and used cars, and never once buying anything he couldn't pay for outright. He answered on the second ring. He had a voice like a man who spent his whole life getting children to sit down and be quiet. Calm, deliberate, not unfriendly, just careful. You talked to Ray for 22 minutes on a Wednesday afternoon. You did not push, you did not rush. You asked about his retirement. You asked what he was hoping his money would do for him. He said he wanted it to grow. He said he and his wife Donna weren't getting any younger. He said he just wanted someone who knew what they were doing.
Someone he could trust. You told him about the position, a large-cap consumer staple stock, dividend-paying, boring, stable, institutional. The kind of investment that does what it says it does. You believed in it. You want to be clear about that. In this moment, you completely believed in it. Ray said, okay. He said, let's try $10,000. You wrote the order ticket. Your commission was $260. You hung up. You sat very still for a moment. You thought about your father getting up at 5 in the morning to sort mail in a building with no heating. You thought about your mother's hands, cracked from the chemicals at the dry cleaner, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, $260 for a phone call. You found the next name on the list. You picked up the phone. You dialed. The hunger that started that night in your childhood bedroom just became something with teeth. Level 5, the book. Year 2, you have a book. 51 clients. Total assets, $3.8 million. Annual commissions, $140,000. Ray is still in your book. He moved from $10,000 to $65,000 across 7 separate calls over 14 months. He calls your direct line now. Not to trade, sometimes just to talk. He tells you about Donna's garden, about the grandkids, about the team he's been following for 40 years that still somehow manages to disappoint him. You listen to all of it. Not because you are required to, because you genuinely like Ray. That is the truth. It is also the most complicated truth you have, because Ray trusts you the way a man trusts someone he has decided is on his side, completely, without conditions. The way a person trusts when they have worked their whole life and handed everything they built to one person and chosen to believe that person will protect it. Your other clients trust you too, but Ray is the one you think about. Your manager, Carol, sits beside you one afternoon and watches you work. She has been here 20 years. She manages a book worth $112 million. She speaks to clients the way you speak to Ray, like she has known them their whole life, like their money is something she carries personally. After the call, she says one thing. She says, they don't buy the stock, they buy you. Never forget that, and never abuse it. You nod. You mean to remember both parts. You remember the first part better. Level 6, the pitch. Year 3, something shifted. You cannot point to the exact moment. It happened the way erosion happens. Not in a single storm, in 1,000 ordinary days of rain. You are pitching a biotech stock now. Small company, early stage, thin float, the kind of stock that can move 30% in a day based on a press release that may or may not be attached to anything real. Your firm is pushing it hard. Terry's replacement, a man named Marcus, has made it the week's priority instrument. Every desk is on it. Every dialer is opening with it. There's a quota attached to it that has never been attached to anything before. You read the research on it. 30 minutes of your own time. You find the underlying data thin, the trial results inconclusive. The management team has one previous company that ended in a quiet SEC inquiry 3 years ago. Nothing formal, just a quiet inquiry that quietly went away. You look at the quota on your screen. You look at your book. You think about Ray. You don't call Ray with this one. You tell yourself that's the line. You call the other clients, the ones who said they could handle volatility, the ones who signed the forms acknowledging risk. You pitch the biotech with conviction, with urgency. You tell them this is the window. You tell them the window is closing. You close $240,000 in a single week, your highest week ever.
Marcus shakes your hand on Friday afternoon. He says, "That's what this floor looks like when it works." You drive home. You sit in traffic on the bridge. You think about the thin trial data. You think about the management team. You think about the quiet inquiry. You tell yourself they signed the risk forms. You tell yourself you didn't call Ray. You tell yourself the line held. You believe most of that. Most is enough to sleep on. Level 7. The line. Year 4. Ray calls on a Tuesday in October. He has been reading something online. Someone sent him a link. An article about an energy company, a pipeline deal in the Southwest. He says he has been thinking about it. He says it looks interesting to him. He says, "What do you think?" You know this company. You know it very well. 6 weeks ago, you were on a call with Marcus about an accumulation play in the energy sector. The firm has been building a position in this exact company for the past 2 months, quietly, at low prices, before any visible attention. You know what comes next. The retail push starts next week. Your floor gets the pitch materials on Friday. 3 weeks of heavy dialing, volume builds, price moves up. The firm exits its accumulated position at the top. Your clients hold through the peak and give most of it back on the way down. You have watched this play out twice before, from the outside. You understood it both times. You did not let yourself understand it completely. Ray is on the phone, asking for your opinion, trusting your opinion. You could tell him to wait. You could tell him you don't know enough about it. You could protect the $65,000 he built with you over 4 years. The $65,000 that came from brown bag lunches and used cars and 38 years behind a steering wheel. Instead, you hear yourself say, "Ray, I actually think the timing on this one is interesting. Let me do some homework and call you back tomorrow." You call him back the next day. You put him in $20,000, the day before the floor-wide push begins. His entry price is good, better than it will be in 3 weeks. You tell yourself you did him a favor. You tell yourself you used what you knew to help him. There is a word for what you just did. You do not say the word out loud. You do not even think it clearly. You just move to the next call. Level 8. The floor. Year 5. You manage 12 people now. You stand at the front of the room every morning at 8. 12 faces looking at you. The youngest one is 22. He is from Ohio. He has the same look you had walking through that door 4 years ago. Hungry, believing, clean. You give them the day's priority instruments. You tell them the pitch points. You correct their language. You adjust their timing. You teach them to read the silence on the other end. You teach them everything you know. You do not teach them everything you know. The things the script leaves out stay where they are, inside the part of your work that does not get written down. A client calls one of your junior dialers, 61 years old, retired teacher, nervous voice. She says she's concerned about her account. She says she's seen a lot of movement. She says she doesn't understand what happened to the biotech. Your junior dialer looks at you. You put on a second headset. You listen. You hear the woman's voice. Her name is Barbara. She had $90,000 in that account. She has $53,000 now. You take the call. You explain the position. You explain the market conditions. You explain the volatility inherent in growth-oriented instruments. She signed the forms, you tell her gently. These things take time, you tell her. The story is still intact, you tell her. You put her into 2 new positions. Both of them generate commission at execution. Both of them create the feeling of forward motion. She thanks you. She says she trusts you. You hang up. You move to the next call. You do not look at the junior dialer from Ohio. You do not want to see what you looked like 4 years ago, looking back at you right now.
Level 9. The number. Year 6. $1 million. your total earnings for the year. Your manager tells you in a room with no windows. He slides a sheet across the table. You read the number. You nod once, like it is what you expected, like your body is not doing something complicated under the surface of that nod. You drive home. You do not call your father. You have thought about calling your father every year on the day you get your year-end number. You have not called him yet, because every year you think about what you would say. You think about how you would explain what you do, not the job title, not the building, the actual thing, the thing that generates the number on that sheet of paper. You think about Ray. You think about Barber. You think about the biotech. You think about the word you didn't say out loud. Your father got up at 5 in the morning every day for 30 years, and he did not make in 5 years what you made in 1. And every single dollar he made the way he said he made it, clean. You sit in your car in the parking garage for longer than you planned. Then you go inside. You order dinner. The restaurant is the kind of place where the menu doesn't have prices. You eat alone. You drink a glass of wine that costs more than your parents spent on groceries in a week. The food is excellent. You don't taste much of it. Level 10, the machine. Year 7. There's a briefing you are invited to for the first time. Not the morning floor briefing, a different one. Small room, 6 people, no phones allowed inside. The man running it is named Connors. He is 54. His suit costs more than your first car. He does not introduce himself. He simply begins. He shows a chart, a stock position, an accumulation phase, quiet buying at low prices over 8 weeks before any public attention, then a retail phase, floors like yours activated across 12 offices, targeted dialers, high-volume calling campaigns, priority instruments pushed across thousands of accounts, volume builds, price climbs, the chart goes up like something on fire. He points to the peak of the chart. He says, "This is where we are fully exited." Then he keeps talking. He keeps talking while the chart keeps going. The price keeps climbing. For another 2 weeks, the price keeps climbing because the retail is still fully invested, because the dialers are still pitching, because the clients are still buying, because people like Ray are still looking at their screens, watching a number go up, and calling their broker to say, "I'm glad I listened to you." And then the chart turns, gradually at first, then completely. The price falls. The retail clients hold because their broker told them the story is intact. The price falls further. They hold because they trust the broker. The price falls through the floor. Connors points to the bottom of the chart. He says, "This is where the retail accounts typically stabilize." He says it the way a mechanic describes a predictable outcome, without heat, without anything. You look at the chart. You feel something cold move through you. Not because you didn't know this happened. You knew this happened. You have known this happened. Because you are looking at it drawn on a chart in a room where no phones are allowed. And the man drawing it is talking about retail clients, the way a farmer talks about a crop rotation. The clients were never the customer. You understood that with part of your brain. You kept a different part of your brain from understanding it completely. That part just caught up. You sit in the room. You listen to the rest of the briefing. You ask 2 intelligent questions. You leave. You think about Ray. Ray is in 3 positions right now. One of them is a priority instrument from last quarter's accumulation play. You do not call Ray that evening. You tell yourself you will figure out what to do. You go home. You pour a drink. You figure out nothing. Level 11, the architect. Year 9. You are not on the floor anymore. You sit in meetings where the next accumulation plays are planned. You advise on which sectors, which float sizes, which retail markets to target, which scripts to build the campaign around. You are no longer the phone. You are the hand that writes what the phone says. You have 8 floors beneath you, hundreds of dialers, thousands of accounts. Every morning across 8 floors in 4 cities, men and women who remind you of yourself pick up a headset and dial a name on a list. They read a script you helped design. They pitch a position you helped select. They build trust the way you build trust with Ray, the way you built trust with Barbara, one call at a time, one silence read correctly at a time, and the people on the other end of those calls believe what they are being told.
Because the person telling them sounds like someone who cares. Because the script was written to sound like that. Because you were very good at that part, and you made sure the script carried it forward. You attend the offshore structure reviews in Zurich, twice a year, business class, very good wine. The fiduciary is a precise man in his 60s who explains settlement windows with the same affect he would use to explain the weather. You review the offshore positions, the accumulated holdings, the exit timetables, the tax structure. You fly home the same night. You land before your alarm goes off. You shower. You drive to work. The floor hums with the sound of phones being dialed. You walk past it to the elevator. You ride up to your floor. You sit in a room with no windows. You begin the day. Level 12, the morning, year 10. They come on a Wednesday, early, before the floor opens. 3 of them, 2 from the SEC, 1 from the DOJ. They are polite in the way that means the politeness is a formality, and the formality ends when they choose. They have a subpoena. They have a warrant. They have 2 years of trading records, internal communications, and phone logs from 4 offices. They have the Zurich meetings documented. They have the offshore structure charts. They have a cooperating witness whose name you will not know for 3 more months. You sit in a conference room. Your lawyer arrives within the hour. She looks at the documents. She says very little for a long time. Then she says, "This is serious." You know it is serious. You are placed on administrative leave that afternoon. Your access card stops working at 5 p.m. Security walks you out, not roughly, just firmly, the way you get walked out when the building no longer belongs to you. You stand on the sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan with a box of things from your desk. The city moves around you the way it always has, fast, loud, without looking up. You think about the first time you stood on this sidewalk. 21 years old, suit that fits slightly wrong, riding a bus from a town most people have never heard of, looking at this city like it was a door that just hadn't opened yet. It opened. That is true. You look at the box in your hands, a framed photograph, some books, a coffee mug from a conference you attended in 2019. You think about Ray. Ray is 67 years old. He and Donna are living on what he saved, on what his account holds. You have not looked at Ray's account in 3 weeks. You know what is in it. You know how the last position performed. You know the exit timing of the offshore structure it was connected to. You do not get in a car. You stand on the sidewalk for a while. The city goes around you. You stand there until you don't know what else to do. Then you pick up the box. You start walking. Level 13, the after. Year 12. The settlement took 19 months. Disgorgement of profits, civil penalties, a 5-year bar from the securities industry. You did not go to prison. Your lawyer was very good. The cooperation of the witness was partial. The documentation your team had spent years managing held up in ways it was designed to hold up. You are 42 years old. You are in an apartment a fraction of the size of the place you were living 2 years ago. The view is a parking structure. You do not have a driver. You take the subway. You consult now. Small companies, startups, people who need someone who understands how institutional money thinks and how to speak to it. You are good at it. You will always be good at reading people. That never left. Your father is getting older. You call him every Sunday now, not to report anything, not to explain anything, just to talk. He asks how things are going. You say, "Fine." He says good. He never asks about the money. He asks about the other things. He asks if you're sleeping okay. You tell him yes. You sleep about 5 hours most nights. The other 2 or 3, you lie there, and the drawer opens by itself. The drawer where you filed the things you did not look at directly. Barbara is in it. The junior dialer from Ohio is in it. The quiet word you didn't say out loud is in it, and Ray is in it. You looked him up 8 months after the settlement. It took 40 minutes. He was not hard to find. A man, his age, his name, that city. He and Donna still live in the same house in Pittsburgh. He sold the house they were going to move to, the one closer to the grandkids. He sold it because the account wasn't there anymore. You read that once. You closed the screen. You sat at the kitchen table. You did not call him. You have thought about calling him. You have written the first sentence in your head 50 or 60 times. There is no first sentence. There is no call. There is nothing you can say to Ray that addresses what you did in any language that matters. You are 42 years old. You have a consulting business that pays the bills. You have an apartment with a view of a parking structure. You call your father on Sundays. You sleep 5 hours. Some mornings you sit at the kitchen table before anyone else is awake and you think about the crack in the ceiling above your childhood bed, the one you stared at for years thinking about getting out. You got out. You just did not know then what out was made of, what it would cost to build, what would be left of you after you paid for it. The final level, the next one. Somewhere right now, a door opens on a floor in Midtown Manhattan. A young man walks in. New shirt, new shoes, the specific kind of nervous that looks like confidence from across the room. He is 21 years old. He grew up somewhere that didn't prepare him for this place. His parents worked hard. His parents have almost nothing to show for it. He found a job listing late at night. He read 2 words and could not sleep after. Aggressive earners only. He sits down at a desk. He puts on a headset. He looks at a list of 200 names. He picks up the phone. He dials. He does not know yet what the phone is connected to. He thinks it is connected to a career. He thinks it is connected to the future he has been building in his head since he was old enough to understand the distance between what his family had and what he wanted. He doesn't know about the machine. He doesn't know the client is not the customer. He doesn't know about the accumulation plays. He doesn't know what the script leaves out. He doesn't know about the briefing in the small room where no phones are allowed. He doesn't know about the drawer. He doesn't know any of it yet. He will learn. The floor will teach him everything it taught you, in the same order, at the same pace, one phone call at a time, one silence read correctly at a time, one line crossed at a time. So gradually, he will not feel it happening until it has already happened, until the person he was is in a drawer somewhere that he keeps closed. The phone on his desk is ringing. Someone on the other end is about to pick up. He leans forward. He opens his mouth. He begins. The cycle continues.